Welcome back for the final round of Swiss, round 6 at Balance Patch for the November VGC Cup. I'm June, joined by the incomparable Jake Major. Love this guy. 2019 Collinsville regional champion Jake Major. Please, let's just start everything out on square footing here.
Mr. Washed himself.
But we've got ourselves a great match here, a win and in for Top Cut in the final round of Swiss. And very, very excited to bring these two players who we both know pretty well.
Yeah. So we got our first player, Anthony Londergan, with a team that he's been using to great success lately. I don't know how many iterations it's been through. I haven't been keeping up as much as you probably have. But it's a team that I have been tying to him and him alone. That Porygon 2 Ursaluna team with Incineroar, Amoonguss, Golden Go, and Annihilate to support them. Notably, that Annihilate with the Choice Scarf being that less common final gambit set, as well as having coaching for some support, and opting for Shadow Claw over Rage Fist.
Yes, I will say, too, a team not just tied to Anthony Lonergan. He may be the only one who has Top Cut Regional with this team, in New England at least, but Keon and I built that team along with him. Both used it as Louisville as well. I want to give mostly the props to Keon for that, just so we're, again, all on the same page.
Glad to know my history now.
But the real iterations on this are that 6th slot. The Annihilate slot has bounced around a ton. In Louisville, it was a Safety Goggles Annihilate. It was Terra Water, the standard just Drain Punch Rage Fist set. Now Anthony has kind of gone on his own to use this Terra Grass Choice Scarf version, and he really, really likes it. That's been a big kind of just patch for him against teams, especially like the one that we're about to see with Adrien, where he's using the Psy Spam and this, sun and also sand modes, all these different options. But especially the teams like Adrian's that just have so much burst damage immediately off the bat. Anthony really loves having that Annihilate that can just click Final Gambit and trade 1-for-1 against most teams.
Yeah, Adrien in the previous 2 seasons known for what we like to call 2-2-2, where there's usually 3 pairings of 2 Pokemon that really fit well together, but adapting more to what I would say a more comprehensive team in terms, or cohesive, I should say, not comprehensive, in terms of the fact that this isn't just 2-2-2. Yes, it can look like that, but a lot of these Pokemon work well all together. You have Torkoal and Delphox for that Sun mode, but you also have Indeedee and Delphox for that Psychic mode, or Indeedee and Gallade for the Psychic mode, Gallade and Torkoal for a Trick Room mode. A lot of these Pokemon can work all together as opposed to just these individual pairings. So I think this is a great adaptation that really behooves how Adrien plays, and just a great step forward in terms of what I would identify as a different team for him.
Oh, yeah, but still with that same comfort. This style of team, and especially he loves his Psychic Terrain, he loves his Sand, throughout all kinds of iterations of those 2-2-2 teams. But if there's any player that I know who is going to be able to pilot this style of team where you really have to just lab your leads, your lines into specific team comps, and I'm certain Adrien knows his matchup into the Porygon 2 and Ursaluna stuff. It's fairly common around all regions at this point. I'm very confident in his ability to understand this matchup, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to lead with, because this is just not a team composition that I'm really familiar with.
Yeah, and it's definitely not something that's easy to play into or figure out your game plans against.
Yes.
There's constant offensive pressure as well as good defensive pivots. It's not your normal balance team, but there's just so much you have to account for on the leads and what could be in back that it's very hard to play into. You very much have to play around Adrien's game. And Adrien is a player who plays so frequently that he's going to know his matchups way better than you will, and it's going to take you time to adapt to how he plays, whereas he's probably going to know exactly how you're going to play.
Exactly, and this is a great example of the Indeedee Delphox lead into Golden Goat and Incineroar. I've talked to Anthony a ton about this specific situation, but really the keys are in Adrien's hands. He's able to decide what pressure is going to be applied this turn. Mm-hmm. You have the Expanding Force if you call this Terra Dragon that we see Anthony hovering over. You have the Heat Wave if Golden Goat does not terrestrialize. And if Golden protects to try to scout out what the Delphox does, Delphox can just click a Terra Fighting Terra Blast immediately into this Incineroar, and even with the Assault Vest, it's going to do a whole lot of damage. There are just so many sources of pressure on Adrien's side, and that's really where he thrives. As it looks like we're going to see that the Helping Hand coming out into this Terra Fighting Delphox. We do not see a Terastallization on Anthony's side, and will the Assault Vest save this Incineroar from a super effective Life Orb hit? Absolutely not.
No. So that Incineroar dropping a bit of HP from what you would normally see. Not sure where those stat points are, but with the Life Orb, with the multipliers there, just not enough for that Incineroar to hang on. And Delphox is going to take a good amount for its troubles, but one Pokemon for a bit of a Pokemon is not the trade you want to make if you're Anthony.
And especially when you have the fastest Pokemon on the field with no chance for priority because of the Psychic Terrain, Delphox is going to be able to click at least one more attack here and get some very, very good damage off onto this Porygon 2 or this Golden.
Yeah. Right now, Adrien's in the driver's seat. Anthony has to make the right plays here, where Adrien has a lot of options available. He has a lot of offense with Delphox. It can go for Expanding Force. It can go for Heat Wave. It can go for a Terra Fighting Terra Blast into Porygon 2. And this Indeedee can also use Trick Room to offset Anthony's potential Trick Room. There's a lot of options that Adrien has, and these players are going to have to call exactly what the other ones are going to do as we see a Terastallization come out from Anthony's side of the field.
Yeah, this Golden will become a Dragon type, removing the Fire weakness, turning that into a resistance. It'll all just depend on what this Delphox does, again, because it has the option to either click Heat Wave or, like we're seeing right now, an Expanding Force. Pretty safe into these two Pokemon. A lot of damage onto that Golden especially.
Yeah, so a lot of damage comes out from Adrien's side of the field as a critical hit, Make It Rain, comes out from the Golden going to take out that Delphox and bring that Indeedee down to its last legs as Adrien is now down a Pokemon and 99% of the other. That Life Orb chip on Golden going to take down a bit more. And Porygon 2 going for the Terra Blast here, a bit possibly indicative that Indeedee went for Trick Room there to try to reverse Anthony's Trick Room, but Anthony not taking the bait, just saying, I'm going to go for Terra Blast. I need to get this Indeedee off the field and prevent any shenanigans it goes for. Adrien possibly thinking that Terra Fighting Terra Blast, even with Helping Hand, may not have been enough to take the KO on Porygon 2 with how bulky it is, but also thinking maybe it's going to go for that Terra Fighting and I need to get around that. That's also a good explanation as to why we might have seen the Expanding Force here. But now we've immediately seen a momentum shift. Adrien just lost two Pokemon, has to bring Torkoal and Gallade onto the field versus a Golden which is likely faster than this Gallade given it's a Trick Room set, and a Porygon 2 at full HP.
Well, Porygon 2 not quite at full HP. You know, it took a little bit of damage from that the Expanding Force.
Right.
The -1 Shadow Ball from this Golden not enough to KO this Gallade, and Porygon 2 will drop to that Sacred Sword. Torkoal now, with the choice specs, you would think any attack it goes for should be more than enough to deal with this Golden
Oh!
Okay, it was just the extra animation time after the knockout. So we are going to see now the 1v2, Adrien immediately taking control of this game right back. But just like you were saying, Jake, a very interesting turn there. The Indeedee trying to set Trick Room on Adrien's side. And now for Anthony, very tough position here as you have the Ursaluna, which is almost certainly slower than this Gallade, and just going to be fodder for a Sacred Sword into that slot.
Yeah, wow. What a back and forth, fast match. Usually these Trick Room teams, you kind of see some downtime in turns.
Oh, yeah.
You see it slow down a bit where the bulk kind of takes precedence and, one hit KOs are looked for but not often claimed. No. But in this game, just back and forth. Delphox taking the KO turn 1. Then, what was it? Porygon 2 and Golden taking 2 KOs the next turn. Was that a 3-turn match?
I think we had 4, because it was the Terra Fighting Terra Blast. Yeah, it was 4 turns, because the Terra Fighting Terra Blast, it was the Golden and the Porygon 2, and then it was Gallade and Torkoal KOing those two, and then the Ursaluna, just formalities there at the end. But 4 turns for any Trick Room team, that's especially one with a Porygon 2 on it.
And without Trick Room going up at all.
Without Trick Room going up at all. Not common, and really not what you're looking for. As we take another look at Adrien's team, we didn't get to see the Sand Mode at all. I think that Choice Band Tyranitar is a really interesting piece here. It can be a little bit tough to position around the Terra Fighting Porygon 2 that also does have Ice Beam, so you're able to hit it, hit the Tyranitar super effectively in or out of terastallization, but if Anthony is able to make a game 3 out of this, that Tyranitar is very, very good into that Incineroar, that Golden Go, and we are going to see the Incineroar and the Annihilate led immediately for Anthony, as it's the Delphox and Indeedee for Adrian's side.
Yeah, so same lead for Adrien. Anthony switching it up, bringing that Annihilate. And at first I was like, oh, an Annihilate, that's not great. Then I remembered it's the Choice Scar Final Gambit variant, and quickly things changed. So we'll see if Adrien wants to go for that conditioning on Anthony and go for the Terra-Fighting Terra Blast again. Anthony probably going to think Adrien's not going to make the repeated play, because that's generally just not Adrien's style.
Yeah.
And I think this is very much a mental game for the two of them. This is what locals are all about, is getting to know your opponents and playing them week to week, month to month, figuring that out. As Adrien actually goes against what I thought might happen, as the Delphox goes for the Terra fighting here.
I don't know if it's necessarily indicative of the attack that the Delphox went for, though, because we have seen, we saw what Anthony locked into is the knockoff into that slot, but I could also be wrong here again, too, as it's going to be another helping hand into this Terra fighting Delphox, the final gambit targeting the Indeedee. So Delphox will still get to move this turn. I was thinking, from Anthony's side, you're able to at least double into that Delphox, force a follow me so the helping hand can't strengthen this Terra-Fighting Terra Blast. Because without the helping hand, I don't believe this is enough for the one-hit KO. But with the helping hand, we saw it game 1, and we are going to see it again in game 2. And another very fast-paced match, 3 KOs just on turn 1.
I'm a bit taken aback. Usually a final gambit there wants to go into the Delphox.
Yes.
Wants to get that KO on the offensive threat. But Indeedee mentally using Follow Me there on Anthony. Anthony targets down that Indeedee and takes it out at the cost of his whole Annihilate, while this Delphox is just still on the field, ready to throw out huge damage. Anthony does still have access to terastallization, but with that pin of an Expanding Force and a Sacred Sword, could easily take out Porygon 2, even if it goes for the terastallization. And Golden Go is the Pokemon that also has to think about terastallizing because of Delphox's Heat Wave.
Yeah, it's so tough in this position. You do want your Golden Go in front of the Gallade because you are immune to the Sacred Swords and you resist the Psycho Cuts, but you really, really don't want your Golden Go in front of the Delphox, as Porygon 2 is crit by the Expanding Force, doing a lot more damage than in game 1. Make It Rain comes out, not enough damage going off into that Gallade, and it looks like it will just be a Sacred Sword follow-up into this Porygon 2. Covers for the Terra fighting into that slot with the Expanding Force, covers for it not terastallizing with the turn that we just saw. So good for Anthony, recognizing that the Golden Go really not in a ton of, really not under a lot of pressure in that turn. Able to get an attack off, but I think you really needed to prioritize knocking out that Gallade so that your Porygon 2 could continue on in this game and keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, so no terastallization there. I think it's kind of smart to put Anthony in the game still on this turn, because Adrien now has to potentially click Heat Wave. If an Expanding Force comes out, that's going to be a KO. Oh, and it is the Expanding Force, that's going to be a KO. And what I was saying in the last game, I thought it was a 3-turn game. That would be this one.
Yes.
That is the fastest set of Pokemon I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and I think in those games, just like we saw it play out, those games that are just 3 or 4 turns very, very heavily favor the team that's putting out the faster offensive pressure.
Yes, absolutely.
Really, really favor those style of teams that Adrien likes. Those are the games of Pokemon that Adrien Hurley likes to play, if I've learned anything from playing against him dozens of times at locals.
Yeah, that was fast. That's all that's on my mind, is how fast that game was. I think Anthony definitely could have played out of the situations he was in better. Maybe going for a terastallization on Incineroar turn 1. You don't want to lose that against a Psy Spam Sun team.
And especially with the Assault Vest, it's such an important defensive piece.
Yeah. But just letting it go turn 1 is not what you want. Maybe, Annihilate targeting down the Indeedee. Also not a great play. I'm not sure what the thought was there. Maybe thinking that the Delphox could go for a Protect and Ndidi could go for a Psychic for a KO is a possible option.
Yeah.
But just trading your Annihilate for what's effectively a speed control piece in a game where you have the same speed control and it's not likely to go up,
Yeah.
not what I would identify as the right play.
Yeah, it becomes tough because, and again, those are the kinds of games that Adrien Hurley likes to play, because once you see the Helping Hand Terrifying Terrablast game 1, now you're all of a sudden you're overthinking everything.
Yep.
You think that your Incineroar in front of this Psychic and Fire type Delphox, you should have no problems.
Yep.
You're an Assault Vested Pokemon, you should be so fine there. But you just get, O-Code turn 1, game 1. Now you're thinking, like, oh no, like, as you mentioned, Adrian's not likely to go for the exact same play 2 games in a row.
It's not his style.
It's not his style. You'd think, oh, the Protect Delphox, either Psychic with Ndidi, or Protect Delphox and try to set Trick Room potentially. Like, there are a lot of options that you could go for. Switching your Focus Sashmon on the final Gambit. Adrian said, no, I can just go the exact same thing because he's so confident in his play that if it goes to a game 3, he knows how to play out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
We say it all the time, he's on stream, but such a cerebral player, just understands. I think that's really the success, is he understands the state of the game. He understands the state of the match better than pretty much anybody else that I've seen
he knows his
at our
team
locals.
better than you know your team, and he plays that very strongly.
Yes. It's all about that the confidence, the comfort, the just match experience that comes with playing those kinds of teams. And we are going to see him continue on into Top Cut. Anthony, 4 wins, 2 losses, may still be able to get into that top 8, but it'll all depend on resistance at that point. And I think we're going to find out maybe in a little bit. We might have a little bit longer break than normal just because of how quick that match was.
Yeah.
But we will be taking a break now and see you all for Top Cut here in a little bit.